Welcome to ATI Pro Media. It is Thursday, December 12th, 12/12/24. We've got CONAB numbers were released month on month. Didn't see a whole lot of changes, spoiler alert, but we still got to respect the numbers, and we still need to talk about the difference between CONAB numbers and USDA numbers. The discrepancy is still there, and it's not going away for the time being. Other than that, we have exports, right? Not quite the shining star they've been in the previous week, so we'll update you there. But we did have a flash sale, so we'll take that as well. Brady Huck needs to give us a quick update in this cattle price action, and then we'll go from there. So, Brady, go ahead and jump in here. I think we need to quote. We didn't quote up the markets yesterday, right? We were so excited that we had sound that people could hear us. We just jumped right into it and never stopped talking. But let's go ahead and quote up the markets because we talked about that resistance at the 200-day. We couldn't quite close above it, could we?
Nope. Stalled out there and hung up on a $10 level on beans too. So let's dive into LaSalle Street and go check in with your markets here this morning.
Yep.
March corn down 1.50, 446.5. Jan beans down a quarter of a cent, flat 9.95 and a quarter. When we look at the wheat market, Chicago wheat down a penny at 562. KC wheat down a penny and a quarter at 566. Feeder cattle, Jan feeders up nearly a buck at 260. Live cattle, we got the front months Dees and February up over $1, $1.35, $1.15 at 193 on Dees, and February at 192.50. Lean hogs up 10 cents. Go over into your energy markets. Crude oil is down 50 points. Diesel is pretty flat. Nat gas down 2 cents on February contract. Over in your equity markets, the Dow down 20 points, S&P down 18, NASDAQ down 128, Bitcoin hanging on to 102,000 on the D's contract, up 65 points. That's a quiet day for Bitcoin, but dollar's backing off a little bit too here this morning. So that's a quick rundown of your markets and where they're at this morning. Dive into some of the headlines, Connor B.
Good stuff. Well, hey, let's start with exports, right? We don't talk about it every week, but every Thursday, right, we see export sales. Our research team does a great job of putting stuff in front of us. So it's definitely that time of year where we're going to talk a lot about exports, but let's go ahead and give them, the highlights. What did you see week on week with exports, Brady?
Kind of softer tone, stalled out. Corn,
Yep.
the expected range 43 to 75 million bushels came in at 37.3. Beans 55 to 81 came in at 43.1, and wheat at the bottom end of the range. But both the corn and bean weekly export numbers came in below the bottom end of that expected range, so a little soft there. But I don't know. We take our wins this week with the WASD adjustment on raising those exports, and maybe we ignore this if we're on the bullish camp. I don't know, Connor. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah. Just because we saw a drop week on week, it's not time to ring the bell that exports are going away by no means, right? But maybe, we didn't quite gain the steam. We saw that. We haven't been announcing flash sales every day like we have, but we did have one today, Brady. 334,000, a good, healthy soybean sale to unknown destinations. So good to see, right? I think I've said it every day this week is just that window of opportunity with U.S. Soybean exports. That window is closing, right? If we can keep it open longer, right? Whether that's if it's due to some type of export issues with Brazil, maybe another spoiler alert, we're not seeing a whole lot of production issues with Brazil soybean crop, but anything that keeps that window open, we keep some soybean sales going, we'll take it.
Yep, I like them. Got to move them out the door now ahead of that Brazil crop hitting the market, because once that crop hits the market, there'll be stiff competition versus the U.S. business. So
right.
Good stuff.
So Speaking of that, we had a CONAB report released this morning. Overall, nothing, no wild cards, right? They vary, not a whole lot of changes. Here's a lot of numbers, and so you feel free to look at it. I won't keep it up long, but overall, very, corn, soybean in terms of Brazil, almost zero changes month on month. Okay, and so not necessarily unexpected, right? I don't know if we see a whole lot of changes with their crop. USDA didn't change it at all last week, so not unexpected, but very, I don't know if you could call it a punt, but very much same as what they had for estimates before. So, the big number, talked about it yesterday, is Brazil for Brazil soybeans is at 166, right? That's a 13% increase year on year, and that's also 3 million metric ton below what the USDA number has. So let's say if they have a fantastic growing season, can we see a 170 number out of Brazil?
Wow, that'd be something. Boy, if we produce it and raise a crop like that, Connor B, we need to chew through those bushels somewhere and use them up.
That's the bit, that's kind of the elephant in the room to me is if you're trying to be a soybean bowl, we got to look at, even just what the USDA or CONAB, right? Take your pick. What they have printed is a healthy soybean production number. I go back to, April, May, when we were talking about, what can we get a record corn crop? Can we see that trend line yield? Well, turns out, right? Going back this summer, we were above trend line yield with what they had. Now we'll know January if they decide to adjust that on the corn crop. That'll be a hotly debated topic. But it's kind of, I don't know. It reminds me of that. Where how big can the soybean crop be in Brazil?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
yep.
looking, the focus is going to be the soybeans right now, but just looking at the corn number, right? USDA had Brazil corn at a 127. CONAB Brazil is at a 119, an 8 million metric ton difference, right? That we've consistently seen. So it's been the same story all year. If you're bullish, you're going to look at the CONAB numbers, right? But which one's right? Can we see them converge, or is this the new normal, right? Are we going to have, just different reporting, different reporting from CONAB versus USDA? Are we going to see that discrepancy just going forward, right?
Yeah, it's a big question. Which number do you like? Which number do you want to trade? And which number is the real number? But I guess we can just have two versions of history and just move forward. We got the Brazilian version of history of what their crop is and the USDA version of history of what that crop is down there. I don't know if they have to come together. Maybe they will.
Yeah.
Cash markets don't lie, though, right? The cash market doesn't lie.
Absolutely. Well, it's as good a time as any to look at that GFS forecast for Brazil. What does that say to you, Brady, when you look at that?
Oh, non-threatening, right? I mean,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Not, especially Mato Grosso, right? We're looking at precipitation in southern Brazil, but even that Mato Grosso region, it's pretty non-threatening weather is what I see.
Yep.
So we're gonna have Dr. Cruz on for premium today. He'll give us his insight. He'll really break some things down. One thing. Oh, go ahead, Brady.
Yeah, it's always fun to listen to Dr. Cruz. He has such a great insight and a lot of grower connections down there in South America. We've interviewed a couple growers down there with him, and just great, intriguing listen to hear Dr. Cruz's perspective. I can't wait to listen to that premium content here this afternoon.
Yeah. I got a headline for you, and I'm gonna read it, give you the information, because I'm not sure what side of the fence I'm on. Maybe I should be feel a little bit stronger, but I saw this. Brazil farmer lobby asked to lift soybean ban from deforested Amazon rainforest. This is from Reuters. A farmers lobby in Brazil is seeking to end a 2-decade-long agreement that forbids grain traders from buying soybeans from farms on deforested land in the Amazon rainforest. The soybean farmer lobby said that it basically fostered a purchasing cartel while harming farmers who strictly comply with the South American nation's forest code. So it's just an interesting headline to me because, number one, I don't think anyone wants to see the Amazon cut down more, but is it fostering unfair practices, right? If we're going back 20 years on maybe ground that hasn't had rainforest on it, right? I'm not sure. I think that's a question I'm going to pose to Dr. Cruz. But any thoughts there, Brady?
I don't think it's good for the American farmer lifting that ban and freeing up more bushels at that type of lifting that ban. So I don't like it.
Yeah. So that's the lobby said that, it's an instrument to defend Brazilian agriculture and does not bring harm to the sector. But yeah, time will tell. So interesting to see. In my area, we saw, if you were interested in signing up bushels, you could get a premium if you could show your soybeans were deforestation free, because that's what the EU wanted, right? Turns out the EU kind of stalled on that agreement. Guys processor still honored the agreement and paid the premium anyway. But that whole deforestation, it's a hot topic and one that's always interesting to me.
Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah. I think you got to give us a quick update on the cattle market.
This cattle market's crazy, Connor. We'd absolutely have to talk about it. But gapped higher this morning on feeders. Fat cattle just been on a tear. Packers paying up early in the week here, pushing bids higher. It's kind of a big tell on where their position's at and needing to get some inventory bought. But bids in the south running higher, bids in the north running higher. The non-fed cow and bull slaughter continues to kind of lag things. But this market's just pushing the upper end of the range. The fat cattle contracts, decent fed, really, they're breaking out. Feeder cattle side of things and deferred contracts haven't really broke out of the range like everything else has. But this market's very interesting. Got to keep an eye on the high path avian influenza, bird flu. There's going to be more testing going forward. Dairy, poultry markets, and even the pork and beef markets. I think that's an impact on. It sounds like the Mexican import screwworm stuff. Sounds like there's a plan in place to resume imports. We don't know if that happens before Christmas. That's what good looks like. I doubt it happens, but maybe some pins where they're going to go inspect before they come on. But there's a couple ports they're looking at getting that flow to resume. But nonetheless, feeders gapped higher. Up $1.50, 260.55 on Jan feeders here this morning. They went and closed the gap and then are back firm again. So that's great to see as well. I'm going to flash up. This is Tuesday's print for the daily feeder cattle index calculation. That's a 12-state average, 7-day rolling average. The daily totals are highlighted. A little softer on Tuesday than the average. 259.33 was the print for Tuesday's data. The 7-day total is 261.46. So a little softer. Big question. We're going to be able to push that thing higher, but just great prices, great market, great opportunities for cattle guys. We did that premium with Tony yesterday, and guys, don't fall asleep here at the wheel. I want to be bullish. I want to be optimistic, but I don't want to look back and say, my goodness, why didn't I jump and do something when those markets were great? So cattle are hot.
Absolutely. Well, good stuff. Well, I think with that, you want to go ahead and break down some questions? I think I already mentioned.
Look at some of those comments.
Yeah, I already mentioned it though. We talked about that we started the show and it's like, can we break through that 200-day? What was it, Brady? 451 and a quarter, a half?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 451.5 was the 200-day yesterday. Yep, didn't break through it.
Gosh dang it, we couldn't do it. But anyway, so here we go. Luke, how tight are world corn stocks projected to be? I pulled this up while Brady was giving us the cattle update. And so after the USDA report, they've got world ending stocks at a 296, right? 296 and a half. Trade estimates were anywhere from a 303, right? USDA was at a 304. So again, I think that's overall on corn exports, right? So a big decrease overall. So I couldn't pull it up quick enough to compare it to previous years, but yeah, we got to pay attention to that world corn stocks number, I think.
Yeah, that's the adjustments they made to the U.S. export picture really positive here this week for U.S. ending stocks. I think to me, the world ending stocks figure on corn highly dependent on that safrinha crop in Brazil upcoming. That's a big crop, big production out there. Yep. And if they have a problem there, that could really tighten things up here over the next 6 months, I guess.
Yeah. Other thing, I know Brian Bassey and them, when they did their update on the WASDE, they mentioned it, but Chinese corn imports were reduced again, right? Another 2 million metric ton. I think that's worth paying attention to too.
Yeah. I've seen some interesting graphics. I maybe need to go pull them up, but where they look at, you take the U.S. inventory out of the world ending stocks and how that impacts. So I think that's kind of where you're going there with that question, Luke. You take the U.S. supply out of the picture and the rest of those countries, where are they at? So good stuff. Interesting. I don't know. I can't predict the future, so I can't project anything, Luke.
What we got? Robert, have winter wheat planting acres come out yet?
Yeah, good question, Robert. Winter wheat, in the ground, and I think we get those numbers here. We had the small grain stuff here in September, but I think we get a little more insight into January. We'll get the flat snapshot of that report in January timeframe. But crop looks good down here, non-threatening. Got a lot of wheat to graze, and It's in the best shape it's been in a long time. I remember a month ago we went from like the second worst U.S. winter wheat rating in the last 50 years to now, what are we, 55% good to excellent or something on winter wheat. So just complete flip here. You don't make a wheat crop in December, you make it in April, May timeframe. So a lot of lives left on that wheat crop, but it's in good shape right now.
Good stuff. All right. What else? Luke, Trump invites President Z to his inauguration. I didn't know that. Is he going to take him to the woodshed for a paddling on trade right after? I think Rick mentioned Trump's ringing the bell in the New York Stock Exchange, right? Today.
Wow. Yeah.
But who knows, Luke? It's gonna be, love him or hate him. It's gonna be a ride with President Trump, and I mean, maybe it's just because of the business I'm in, but that's on the forefront for me. Are we going to see tariffs day one? How is he going to handle trade, right? And just go from there. So it's going to be a ride.
Yep. What the saying that comes to my mind, Connor, is trade headlines. You're going to end up selling newspapers.
I like it. So, all right. Well, with that, if there's any other questions, feel free to ask him anytime. Yeah, we did have a premium. I did one. It's just five habits of successful marketers.
Yep, this is a great one, Connor. Getting out there. I think you gave him a 6. Didn't you give him a bonus habit there too? 6 habits.
Yeah. I wrote down 5, and then I'm like, you know what? I gotta have one more. So
I like it.
I wouldn't have get. It wasn't anything. It wasn't anything groundbreaking. It was just, sometimes the hardest part about marketing is the psychology, the mindset, and so that's what I go over. What's some good habits, right? Some good mentalities. I think that you and I have seen.
Yep, and with the run we've seen in the corn market, I think it's important to touch base with those. Remind yourself what good looks like, and set yourself up for success down the road. That was a good premium, Connor B.
Yep. So, well, with that, any other questions, we can answer them, but I think we go ahead and get out of here. So we'll see everyone tomorrow, and we'll go from there.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Have a good one.